wanted to have reparations for the descendants, African descendants. And many of you may know that, I think it was back in the late 70s, my Congressman John Conyers had introduced a bill for reparations that was lost in committee and never brought before the congressional hearing group. On the question of Oscar Grant, one of the things that was in my presentation was that we have to find a way to eliminate the police brutality, the racial profiling, what has been happening, not just since 9/11, but from eons ago, where the police have no training and they violate the human rights of so many of our African American and other. Now there's Islamophobia, that they're doing it with the Asian-looking people who are Muslims and all. So one thing that happened recently in Michigan, we had a young man who was tasered by the police, but he had asthma. And of course they didn't know that, but he died. And it was as a result of the interaction of the electricity and his heart stopped and all. There has to be an elimination of the use of tasers within the officer's possession. We have a law in Michigan also, which we're very concerned about with juveniles, children who are arrested and maybe commit crimes, major felonies, felony murder under the felony murder rule. And after 3 offenses, they may be given life in prison without possibility of parole. And as the doctor knows, when you are a juvenile, your brain has not formed until you're at least 25, I think it's 25 years, they say that then your judgment is much better than it is when you're a youngster, teenager, or a child. But on the Oscar Grant case, that was brought out. With the 3 minutes that each of us had, it was a little bit difficult to hit all of the spots that we needed to. But I want you to know that people from 156 nations around the world, so that's thousands of people, are aware of what happened to Oscar Grant. Wow. And one of the other things that we will be doing is sending you all kinds of support in any way from Michigan, if there's anything that we can do. And I know that Reverend Buford has been working with the family and the committee, the defense committee. So thank you for letting, did I cover reparations enough?
Just say what that was.
Well, okay. I did say that, we are trying to get into the document again, the fact that there still are remnants of slavery, and one of the biggest remnants of slavery is in the criminal justice prison system. And one of the things that we are discussing in Michigan, I'm also working with the ACLU on this, is the school to prison pipeline. I know a lot of you have heard about that, where youngsters are not being reprimanded and punished by the school system, but it's put into the criminal justice system, and they go right through. So that's one of the forms of slavery that is still reminiscent, and I have heard many black people unfortunately say they can't support the question of reparations because that happened so long ago. Can we just forget that? But one of the reasons that our kids can't get into college, that they have all of these problems with getting jobs and everything, is that racism still exists. In the United States, the Southern Poverty Law Program has said that there are 900 hate groups in the United States that have grown since 9/11. And we've got our own form of terrorists, homegrown terrorists in the United States. One of the other things I brought up, and I'll just be really quick about it, is on the case of the Cuban Five. In Miami, Florida, the exiled Batista people who came from Cuba, the ones that had the money and stole from the banks and the insurance companies and went to Miami, they are the ones that are attacking the country of Cuba. And the Cuban Five were arbitrarily detained. These are young men that have spent 10 years in prison. They had a faulty trial, And even the United Nations said that if they tried them in Miami, it was during a perfect storm of prejudice. They couldn't possibly get a fair trial. So we're working on that. There's so much going on that it's hard to think that we can work in all of these areas, but tasers are going to hopefully be outlawed. And one of our people, and this is the last thing, and Ginger, Fagan Ginger, who is the head of the Nickel-John Civil Liberties Institute, wants Barbara Lee to introduce a law about tasers and the training that the officers get with them and the elimination of tasers as being used by the officers to contain crowds.